In this module, we'll define what a new product is and the risk and rewards associated with developing a new product. We'll also identify, define, and describe each stages of the new product development process. Then we'll flip our lens to the consumer and look at the stages of the adoption cycle, as well as new product adopter categories as we go back to our bell curve. Now, when we start to think about new products, we have new to the world products. These are products that have never been seen before. They are new, they create the wow, the shock, the awe. We also have new to the firm products or new to the organization products. This is where we're kind of catching up to a competitor. Maybe we've seen it done and decided that it fits into our overall product mix, so we begin to incorporate this product. Now remember, when we get to the question marks or the problem children of our product development life cycle, the BCG model, we have products that we may reposition or repackage. So it's a product that has moved throughout the product life cycle curve, but we reposition or repackage to better meet a new product need, and then we push it out to the marketplace. And lastly, we have a repositioned product. Now this is a product that we may reposition. Remember our megaphone? We may take it from its existing use and repurpose it or promote it for an alternate use. Let's take a look at each stage of the new product development process. The new product development process begins with idea generation. This is where the new idea comes to the market. It's a great idea and we're ready to pursue it. So we move it through continuous evolution of product development to do a screening and evaluation process, the concept development and testing, and kind of market strategy development. That's really where the marketing team comes into play. As it moves through analysis and prototyping, we're getting ready to test it in the market. So we move through 6 steps of the product development process before it actually makes it to testing in the marketplace. Once it's moved out of that ideation phase or the landscape, remember our ecosystem approach of new product development. In stage 7, if it's a go, if it passes consumer testing, it then pops out of the life cycle curve and moves into commercialization. In step 8, it's where the business begins to manufacture, produce, and push it to the marketplace. And then, of course, as always, we move back to the evaluation of results to determine what to do with the product next. Students will learn more about each stage of the new product development process in the mini module. Now let's flip the lens to the consumer as we look at the consumer adoption process for a new product. Now that we have a basic understanding of the new product development process, let's flip the lens to the consumer as we look at the consumer adoption process for new products. I'm going to take us back to our marketing funnel so we can begin to see how marketing mix relates and strategy to the overall consumer adoption process. So as the consumer moves throughout this linear process as lined in our textbook, I do like to take it to the funnel as I feel like it describes the process in more detail. At the beginning, the consumer gains a general awareness of the product. They become aware that the product is available and develop an interest in evaluating that product or service. At this point, they move into the evaluation and education phase where they learn more about the product or service in preparation to decide if they want to try it or purchase. Lastly, as they move through the funnel, they move into the product trial and adoption cycle. But let's layer it here. So at the top of the funnel, we have awareness marketing. And this is where the consumer becomes aware of the product or service. So they may see an advertisement on streamed television, or maybe they were flipping through a magazine and they saw an ad placed in traditional media. Now, after they have an awareness, they might become interested if they have a need for that product or service. And that's where they moved into the education and then the consideration component of the funnel. Notice that they are moving through the funnel to that purchasing decision. Now this is where they take their interest and begin to research the product or service. They may go to the grocery store to see the different flavors that are on the shelves if it's a grocery item. They may go to your business website to learn more about the product or service or where they can buy it. And ultimately developing a consideration set between your product or service and alternatives in the marketplace prior to actually buying the product or service or trying it. So the linear model included in our textbook really can fall within the marketing funnel as consumers move through the marketing adoption process. Lastly, if the customer tries the product or buys the product, decides that they like it, they may actually, in the post-purchase decision-making process, adopt that product into their consideration set or their portfolio of products and services purchased. Just a quick look at an alternative approach to the linear model included in our textbook. Now that we've taken a greater look into the consumer adoption process, let's look at our adoption categories as we move back to our bell curve, our historic bell curve in the product development life cycle. So the bell curve is an example of the product development life cycle. And when we look at it, we really can layer in the BCG model if we so choose. So in this introductory phase, this early adopter phase, we have our stars. And then as we start to move towards maturity, we have our cash cows. And then as we move down that decline, we have our question marks or our problem children. And then ultimately, as the product declines in interest, we have our dogs. Now, with the BCG model kind of layered in, let's take a look at the consumer adoption categories. Now, the first consumer is the first innovator to purchase your product. Think of the innovators as the brand loyalists that are standing outside of the Apple Store, waiting for the store to open to release the latest iPhone. Now, this is only 2.5% of your total consumer adoption categories, meaning that they are limited at scale but extremely influential. Your innovators are your tech enthusiasts. They want the latest and greatest, and they will often be the influencers that are first to talk about you. As we move into a slightly larger category, your early adopter category, I would definitely coin these your influencers. They are the adopters that want to buy your product, they are aware of your product, but they also want to influence the purchases of others. So they're purchasing and talking about you. Now moving into the majority of the consumers that make up your mix, that is your early majority and your late majority. Your early majority is looking at the reviews and influences coming from your innovators and early adopters to make their purchasing decisions. They're still willing to pay a premium, but not the premium that your innovators and early adopters were willing to pay. So at this point, the price has slightly adjusted, products are more available, and there are more adopters coming to mix to purchase. Now your late majority, they're not exactly interested in the latest and greatest. They may just need a new phone, so it's time to purchase. But they also comprise 34% of your adoption mix. So looking at the overall adoption mix, this is 68% of your consumers that fall into your early majority and late majority. Now thinking about the marketing dollars we're putting at the table, these are limited at best. We're trying to figure out what to do with the product and service, but we still have quite a bit of sales in this cash cow sector. Now as we move through the late majority adopters, we have our laggards. These are the folks, they want the cheapest product they can get these are the customers that want the least expensive product to meet their needs. They absolutely are not concerned with the latest and greatest, influencing those around them. They just need a product that meets their needs. The laggards are ultimately where your product falls into that dog category. And with the example of the iPhone, this is probably when you're ready to release a new edition. You may no longer be supporting the iOS for that particular product or service, and you're ready to divest it off of your portfolio. But keeping in mind, while the innovators and early adopters are essential to product success and marketing, your early majority and late majority will comprise the majority of the revenue and sales for your product and service. This concludes our introduction to new products. I encourage you to continue to work through the many modules and industry resources included. Please keep in mind your final project is now open or will be open soon. So I encourage you to apply the concepts you're learning in this module to the final project in preparation for completion towards the end of the semester.